Guys, I'm going to start on the putting the top end on the CT-120 or CT-175 Yamaha. Got a few little preliminary things that I'm working on here prior to it. I'm checking some clearances. I'm checking for flatness. Let me show you. Okay, what I do here is I've got a piece of glass that's about as flat as I can get, and I save this piece and keep it clean and everything so that I can use it for this. And I've got a piece of 400 grit sandpaper, and I just wet this down with water and take and slowly lap the head and the cylinder, and that's what we're looking for, is we're looking for flatness. And what I've done here is I've put some Dicam onto the head, so you can see here that we're low over here and we're flat the majority of the way here, but we've got a little low spot, so we're going to keep after that. And you want to change directions once in a while. You know, rotate it right for a while and then go back left. This is important because the gasket can only take up so much space, and then you're going to have a problem. Well, see, we're just about getting there now. Just going to go with it a little bit longer. It's just good to check the flatness of anything that you can check that uses a gasket. That's pretty good. I'm going to continue to work on this just a little bit, but just to show you that it's looking pretty good. And I've already done the cylinder, and you can see that right around the center here where the sleeve is completely uniform flat. Now that's the only place it really needs to be, because if you look at your gasket, the raised up area that's going to squish, the squish area, is right where the sleeve is. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference on out here. It's where that sleeve is going to contact. The head is a little more critical. Like I say, this one here is going to take a little more work, and I'm going to work on that. But at this point, I'm calling the cylinder good. And the other things that I'm doing as I go along here is I'm checking the piston cylinder clearance, and this is a 4th over 67 millimeter 4th over, and I've already got it bored. And this was before I got my equipment, so I had this one bored by LA Sleeves in California, and I've had this probably for almost 10 years already. And we're checking the piston to cylinder clearance, and we're falling right in the spec of about 1.5 to 2 thousandths, closer to the 2. And we also are checking the ring gap. You put your rings in here one at a time, push them down to one of those ring grooves, just so that it looks uniform, the same depth all the way around. And then you check with a feeler gauge that gap. And let me see if I can get you over here to a little better view of that. Yeah, right here, that's where we're checking our gap. And you just do that with a feeler gauge. And those are supposed to be 6 to 14 on the ring gap. And we're at 15, so we're just about 1/1000ths over on that one, which isn't going to make much difference. And about the same on that one. So they're a little wide, but they do say 1 millimeter, so that's 40/1000ths. Yep, 40. So we're going to go with it. It should be all right. Most of them get a lot more worn than that. You can't really control too much about what they do for you when you farm it out. So they're not really concerned whether or not it's right on or a little loose or a little tight. They should be, but they're not. And of course I can't do anything about it at this point because it's been years since I've had it done. Should be okay here. When you're measuring the piston, the Yamaha manual tells you to check it at about 3/8 of an inch below the skirt being here. And you're going for a snug fit there. Then you write this down, and you can, what I do, because I've got this equipment, is I set my gauge up to the same measurement as the piston. I can put that in here and I dial it in just like a micrometer and set it at 0 on here, and then I measure the 6 places. We shouldn't really have you should only have to measure 2 at this point because it's been bored. So we're not too worried about taper. So we're going to measure at 90-degree angles here. And you need to do that in about 3 places throughout the cylinder. And we're looking at just about 2/1000ths. So I think we're good to go on all this. I'm going to work on this head just a little bit more, and then I'll catch you back over at the engine and we'll start the install. Okay guys, I've got one ring on and I've got one keeper installed, and they've got expanders underneath, and these expanders are both the same. Some of them are different, and one of them goes one place and the other one goes the other. But these are both the same. They just go in underneath the ring. Just kind of center it around the pin, just like you do the ring. And then go ahead with your numbers up and the cutout on the rings oriented up. Go ahead and install your ring, just like this. Get your cutout that matches the pin and the piston, and the same on this one. And everything seats all the way around. Every once in a while you get one that has a bad spot in the ringland or something, and you have to file it. I think I had that issue on the TC-125, so just be cautious of that. So we've got a ring on. I've I finished lapping the cylinder and the head. Let me get a fresh towel here. Now what I do, the final clean that I use is automatic transmission fluid. It's a very high detergent oil. And what I do is I go in and I wipe that cylinder all the way down several times. See, I've got it pretty well out of there. It's coming out just red and white. So, but once they've been bored and honed, they usually have a lot of metal in them yet. And you've got to get that out of there. Automatic transmission fluid is one of the best ways to do that. See, just as clean as it went in. Then we wipe that down with a clean one to try to get most of that ATF out of there. Not that it's going to hurt anything, but just get it out best you can. Okay, and then what I usually do is I use whatever engine oil that I'm using in the bike. That's what I use to pre-lube the cylinder as I'm going together. Okay, let's get you over here. I've still got the engine set up here with I do have the gasket on already, the base gasket, and I've got the rags in there so I don't lose anything in there. So I'm going to go ahead and lube up. Let me get some of my stuff out of the way here so I don't lube things that I don't want to lube. Okay, I've got the needle bearing for the upper. And I've cleaned all this already, but cleanliness is the name of the game. And I've got the pin. So the first thing we want to do, now I've got Yamaha lube in here. That's what I use in all my engines. So that's what it's going to get. I'm going to put a little bit in the pinholes. Smooth that around. And then a little bit on her pin. And we'll start the pin. Okay. Okay, arrow forward. Right here, arrow forward toward the exhaust port. And there it is. And now we'll put the final keeper in. These are the things you don't want to lose in there. Get it started in the groove, hold your thumb on it, and I put them in with a little pair of vice grips until I hear them click. And then give them a little spin just to make sure they spin free in the keeper, or in the hole, groove, whatever you want to call it. Okay. My pin's situated at the rings. We'll see how this goes. I don't know whether I'll get you up here a little bit further. A lot of times this takes a lot of finesse to get these things in, so we'll try it. First, I'm putting a light coat of oil throughout the cylinder. Yeah, we'll see if we're lucky. Now, get this thing started. Okay, I should have done that before but I have. Now I've got it, the piston and the rings coated with a thin coat of oil also. Okay, I think I got her here now. Gotta watch that gasket. We don't want to damage it. There, down. Sometimes you've got to push those rings a little bit. I use a plastic, I don't know, little lever here, and you can just go around and push them in and walk that thing down. And that's what I had to do. That's usually what I have to do. They usually just don't pop right in, and that's just the way it works. Let's see, I'm probably not going to be able to turn this because I don't have a Kickstarter. Okay, there we go. Looks like it should. Trying to show you this piston coming up and down. I don't know whether it did or not. I've got to try to hold on to it at the same time. Yeah, there we go. I think we got her. It's always an ordeal, but you got to take your time, because if you don't, you can break those rings, and then, you know, you're waiting another week or 2 weeks, whatever it takes to get them. Okay, let's press on here. We've got our new gasket, and we've got the head all taken care of here. And before I put that up there, I'm going to put a little lube in these nuts. And I'm going to use anti-seize. Probably a little overkill, but I'd rather be overkill than have a problem. That's what I'm talking about. Anti-seize lubricant. Of course, if you get it on your hands, you'll get it eventually on your face, which means you'll look like the Tin Man before long. Alright, where's it at? There it is. Okay. Okay, everything's down. Okay, I'm going to torque these head bolts. And the book tells me 15 to 18 foot-pounds. I'm using an inch-pound torque wrench here, and that would figure 180 to 216 inch-pounds. I'm going to go at about 190 on them, but I'm going to get there slowly, and just bring it up a little bit and crisscross. I've got my first increment set at 100. I'll run that up. To 150. Same thing. And then our final torque at 190. I feel a little better with those new studs. Okay, that's all done. Okay guys, so we've got the cylinder and the head put on. Everything looks like it's doing okay right there. So our next step will be to get the side cover on and the magneto set up, and we'll go through the timing, and now that's probably about it. We'll go through the timing and get the cover on over there. And other than that, Hey, thanks for going along on the ride. See you next video.